The alien princess thought humans were weak. He taught her respect. The universe was loud, full of radio signals, engines, and constant communication. But on that night, in the far outer rim of human space, there was silence. Too much silence. The small colony world Arden 3 floated quietly under a purple sky. It was a peaceful place. Farmers, teachers, families, children laughing in gardens. The kind of world where people believed war was something that happened long ago to ancestors in old history books. But peace does not last forever, especially when someone else is watching. The first sign, the event that changed everything, began with a noise no one understood. A deep echoing pulse came from the sky, like thunder but without clouds. The ground vibrated. Animals panicked. Birds flew in confused circles. People stepped out of their homes and stared upward. A strange shape was forming in the clouds. Not a ship, not metal, not technology humans recognized. It looked organic, like something alive. A giant oval shape, pulsing like a heartbeat. Children thought it was beautiful. Adults felt something else, fear. The colony governor, Mira Dane, stood on a balcony with her officers. "What is it?" she asked. No one answered, because no one knew. The shape split open, like a seed pod cracking. From inside, creatures began to emerge, floating, gliding down through the atmosphere. Long, smooth bodies, pale like bone, with mouths but no eyes. They moved in silence. One man whispered, trembling, "That is not a ship," someone else whispered. "That is not anything we have words for." The attack, the first creature, landed in the town square. People gathered around, confused, afraid, curious. Then it screamed, not a normal scream. Not something any living creature should make. A sound that vibrated inside the skull, shaking thoughts loose. People fell to their knees, covering their ears. Some fainted. Some began to bleed from the nose. The creature lunged into the crowd. Then the attack began everywhere. Lights exploded. Communications died. The sky turned red with fire trails. More creatures fell from the pulse ship, like raindrops of death. Mira Dane shouted, "Evacuate to the shelters now! Move!" But many never made it. The first day of the war lasted 17 minutes, and Arden 3 was gone. The message that survived. 3 hours later, across space, on the Orbital Training Academy Solgate 12, alarms activated. Cadets ran through steel corridors. Veterans stood up from their desks. Everyone looked at the main screen. A single transmission was playing, looping, damaged, full of static. Governor Mira Dane's voice shaking, terrified. "They are not machines. They are not metal. They are alive. They learn. They change us. Do not let them touch you. Do not let them touch you." The message cut to static, then silence. The room was frozen. No one breathed. Captain Orion Hale in the front row stood. Captain Orion Hale. Decorated soldier, calm even in the worst situations. He had seen war, lost friends, led battles. But even he had never heard fear like that recording. A young cadet whispered, voice cracking. "Are we going to fight them?" Orion answered quietly, "We don't have a choice." A general stepped forward. "Captain Hale, assemble a strike team. You leave in 30 minutes. Orion didn't hesitate. "Yes, sir." But inside, he felt something unfamiliar. Not fear of death, but fear of the unknown. The team in the armory. Orion's squad prepared. Sergeant Vale, sharp mind. Quiet voice. Corporal Lyra Chen. Sniper never misses. Engineer Brooks. Fixes anything. Even under fire. Private Jonah, youngest, eager. Still believed heroes always win. They inspected weapons. Checked armor. Loaded supplies. Jonah tried to sound brave, so... "We fight monsters?" Brooks shook his head slowly. "Monsters bleed. But I don't think these things bleed." Sergeant Vale spoke without emotion. "We adapt. We survive. We bring our people home. That is who we are." They nodded. Because humans don't always win, but humans do not break. The departure, their ship, the Starling, launched into dark space. Engines roared. Stars blurred into white lines. No one spoke. Everyone imagined what waited ahead. Orion looked at his soldiers and said, "Listen to me. We don't know what these things are. We don't know what they want. But we know this. He placed a metal hand on the wall of the ship. This ship, this team, this mission, this is our home. And humans protect home, always. The crew nodded, eyes hard with determination. No fear, only resolve. Outside the window, the stars slowly returned to sharp points. Arden 3 was ahead, burning, silent, waiting. The war had already begun, and humanity was stepping into the fire. Humans don't break. The ship. Starling dropped out of hyperspace above Arden 3. No one spoke. No one needed to. The colony that once glowed with city lights and warm gardens was now dark. A silent sphere of ash and shadow. Smoke clouds drifted across the atmosphere like bruises spreading across a dying body. Sergeant Vale whispered, very quietly, like speaking too loud would break something. There were 200,000 people down there. Captain Orion Hale didn't reply. His eyes stayed hard, sharp, focused. Emotions could come later. Now they needed clarity. Scan for survivors, he ordered. Engineer Brooks tapped on the sensor array. The screen flickered. Data scrolled. Life signals detected. Brooks paused. But weak. Very weak. Some underground. Some near the North Plateau. And the enemy? Orion asked. Brooks swallowed. They're still here. On the screen. The alien pulse ship floated in the sky like a giant open heart, slowly pumping out smaller creatures like seeds falling from a dead tree. No engines. No metal. No sound. Just living invasion. Orion exhaled once. We move now. Landing, the Starling touched ground near a shattered landing pad. The surface was cracked, blackened. The smell of burned earth and melted metal hit them immediately. Lyra Chen tightened her sniper strap. Feels wrong here. It is wrong, Vale said. Everything here is wrong. Private Jonah tried to speak bravely, but his voice shook. Captain, we'll bring survivors home. We'll do it. We always do. Orion placed a steady hand on the young soldier's shoulder. We will. But we will be smart. The squad moved forward. Their boots crunched over broken glass, bent steel, and burned soil. Homes were nothing but frames. Street signs melted. No wind, no birds. Just absolute stillness. Then they heard it. A metal scraping sound, slow. Dragging. Not from ahead, but from below. The first encounter underground shelter, Vale whispered. They found a collapsed access door. Something was moving weakly beneath it. Brooks and Vale lifted the metal panel together. A woman lay inside, trembling. Skin pale. Eyes unfocused. Her voice came out cracked and raw. Don't let them touch. Don't let them. Her back arched suddenly. Her skin rippled. Something moved under her flesh. Jonah froze. What is? The woman screamed. Two voices. One human, one alien. Orion reacted instantly. Jonah! Step back! The creature burst upward, twisting her bones, stretching her limbs, opening her mouth far too wide. It lunged. Chen fired one precise shot. The creature dropped. Silence returned. Private Jonah stared at the body. His breath came fast. Too fast, he whispered. That was a person. That was a person. That was a person. Orion grabbed him by the armor. Focus. Look at me. Jonah's eyes met Orion's. When humans break, we break loud. We break hard. But we do not stay broken. Breathe. With me. Jonah inhaled. Held it. Exhaled. His body stopped shaking. He nodded once. I'm here. I'm ready. Orion released him. Good. Because this world needs us. The Cave of Survivors' sensors led them toward the North Plateau. A cave entrance was hidden behind burned trees. Faint voices came from inside. The team entered slowly. Flashlights cut through the darkness. Dozens of survivors huddled. Together. Children, parents, elders, dirty, hungry, shaking, afraid. When they saw the human soldiers, they didn't cheer. They didn't shout. They simply collapsed into tears. A little girl ran forward and grabbed Jonah's hand. Her voice trembled. Are you real? Jonah knelt down. Yes, we're real. We're here now. The girl pointed deeper into the cave. They tried to take us. The white monsters. They kept whispering inside our heads. Some people went with them. They said the monsters promised peace, Vale muttered. Psychological infiltration. They attack the mind, so they don't fight us, Chen said slowly. They try to change us. Orion nodded grimly. It means they fear something about us. Something inside us. Something they can't break. The message left behind Brooks found a damaged data pad on the cave floor. It belonged to Governor Mira Dane. A final log played, distorted but clear enough. They don't use weapons. They use fear. They tear memories, rewrite thoughts. They are trying to make us like them. But remember this, static. Then Mira's voice returned, stronger. Humans endure. Humans survive. Humans adapt. If anyone hears this, don't run. Don't surrender. Fight. Because humans don't break. The pad shut off. The survivors stared at Orion, waiting, needing direction, needing hope. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't shout. He spoke softly, but every word struck like a hammer. We are taking you home. All of you. I promise. The cave filled with the quiet. Powerful sound of belief returning. But as they began to lead the survivors out, a deep shadow shifted at the cave entrance. Something large. Something waiting. And the soldiers realized. The creatures were not hunting the colony anymore. They were hunting them. The spark of resistance, the shadow at the cave entrance moved again. Slow, controlled. Something knew they were inside. Orion raised his hand. No words, no sound. Every soldier froze. Survivors covered their mouths, terrified of making even the smallest noise. Chen flicked her sniper scope active. Her eyes narrowed. I have eyes, she whispered. Target is bigger than before. 2 meters tall. Maybe more. Vale crouched low. One of the white ones? No, Chen whispered. This one is armored. The creature stepped into view. Its skin looked like bone plates layered over muscle. No eyes, no visible mouth. Just smooth, pale armor. It moved without breathing. Quiet, purposeful, not hunting for food, hunting for them. Orion spoke softly. Steady and calm. Do not fire unless it enters. The creature stood perfectly still, blocking the only exit. The survivors began shaking. A baby whimpered. The creature turned its head toward the sound. Orion's voice cut sharply, but quietly. Hold. Brooks leaned close to Orion's ear. We can't just wait. It'll call more. I know, Orion whispered back. We don't kill it here. We trap it, Vale nodded. The cave wall supports. If we collapse the entrance, the idea formed instantly. Orion pointed to Brooks and Vale. Charge placement. Quiet work. They moved to the cave wall like shadows. Jonah stood beside the survivors. Hands shaking slightly, but controlled. Chen watched the creature through her scope. It's listening, she whispered. Not to sound too... Thoughts, Jonah swallowed. Thoughts? Chen nodded slowly. I can feel it. Inside my mind. Searching. Orion placed his hand on Chen's shoulder. Do not let it find fear. Fear is how they change people. Remember who you are, Chen exhaled. All right, I remember. The cave collapsed, Brooks. Finished attaching the charge. Ready, Vale. Placed her hand over the detonator. Orion lifted 3 fingers. Now. Boom. The cave entrance collapsed in a thunder of falling rock and dust. The creature moved fast, faster than anything its size should, but not fast enough. A massive boulder slammed into its chest, pinning it. Dust filled the cave. Survivors coughed, but they were alive. Chen lowered her rifle slowly. I think... That worked. The creature moved. Its chest expanded. Muscles bulged. It began to push the rock upward. Jonah shouted, It's not dead! Orion didn't hesitate. Move, now. The squad guided the survivors through a narrow side exit deeper in the cave, an alternate mining tunnel. Behind them, the creature roared, not with a voice, but with vibration. The sound rattled bones. People fell to their knees. Some began to cry. Chen grit her teeth. He's trying to get inside our heads again. Trying to break us. Orion spoke, firm as steel. Then don't let it. The hidden chamber. The tunnel opened into a forgotten underground facility. Old mining tech, long abandoned. Dust-covered power lines. Broken lights. Metal crates stacked in shadows. Survivors huddled near old support beams. Soldiers formed a perimeter. Brooks checked old generators. I might get one running. Maybe. Jonah sat with the little girl from before. She looked at him with wide, scared eyes. Are we safe now? Jonah forced a soft smile. We're humans. We don't stop, so yes. For now, we're safe. Orion moved to a small office room at the back of the chamber. Vale and Chen followed. Vale spoke first. Sir, that creature. It wasn't sent to kill. It was sent to observe, Chen nodded. To watch how we react, how we organize, how we protect each other. Orion's expression darkened. They are studying us. Why? Vale asked. Because something about us threatens them, Orion replied. Or something about us frightens them. The weight of that idea filled the room. Chen sat on an old metal crate. What now, Captain? Orion looked toward the survivors, the scared children, the parents trying to look strong, the elders holding on to dignity in silence. Now, he said, we teach them how humans fight back. The strategy. They spread old maps across a metal table. Arden 3 mining tunnels ran like veins under the planet. They knew the terrain. The enemy did not. Vale tapped the deepest chamber. If we guide survivors here, we can protect them long term. Chen pointed at the surface. We need supplies, weapons, medical kits. We'll have to go topside. Brooks re-entered the room, wiping grease from his hands. Generator online. We have power. Lights are coming up. I even connected to an old comm relay. Short range only. Orion nodded slowly. Good. Then send the message. He stood tall. His voice was clear, steady, human. This is Captain Orion. Hail of Earth Starling Squad. Arden 3 has fallen. Survivors remain, and we are protecting them. To any human who hears this, we are not defeated. We are not prey. We are not broken. If the enemy wants to learn what humans are, we will teach them. End message. The radio hummed. Silence followed, but something had begun. Not hope. Something stronger. Resistance. The escape plan. The underground chamber hummed with weak lights. Old mining generators clicked and groaned, barely holding power. The survivors huddled close together, whispering fearfully. The soldiers checked weapons again and again, knowing something was coming because the creature wasn't dead. They could hear it, a slow, steady rhythm. Thump, 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 the sound of something pushing against stone. Chen's voice was tense. It's digging through the rock, Brooks cursed under his breath. How strong are these things? Orion didn't answer. Because he didn't know yet. Instead, he walked to the group of survivors. The little girl from before looked up at him, holding her teddy bear. Dirty, torn, but clutched like treasure. Captain, is it coming? Orion knelt down to her height. Yes, he said, but we are not going to wait for it. Humans don't wait to die. We move. The girl nodded, trusting him completely. Adults didn't have that kind of faith, but children saw truth clearly. The map of Escape Vale spread the mining map across the floor, pointing to a long tunnel leading west. If we follow this old supply shaft, it reaches the surface near the crystal canyons. Hard terrain, uneven. The enemy may not travel it easily. Chen nodded. Good, that buys time, Brooks grimaced. But the hatch at the end hasn't been used in years. It might be rusted shut. Jonah cracked a small smile. Guess we'll push hard then. Orion placed markers on the map. We travel in groups. Soldiers on all sides. Survivors in center. No one runs. No one leaves the formation. We stay together. His voice was calm, steady, solid. The kind of voice that rebuilt broken souls. The kind of voice that meant survival. The preparation as survivors prepared to move. Orion noticed something. Their fear was changing, not disappearing. Fear never disappears, but shifting. Fear was becoming purpose, because humans don't collapse forever. Humans rebuild. Jonah tied strips of cloth around a child's shoes so they wouldn't slip. Brooks rigged glow lights from old wires to guide the path. Vale sharpened broken metal into makeshift weapons. Everyone had a job. Everyone mattered. The sound behind the rock grew louder. Thump. Thump. Crack. Chen's eyes narrowed. We don't have long. Time to move, Orion said, into the dark tunnel. The mining tunnel was narrow and uneven. Shadows crawled along the walls. The smell of dust and old stone filled the air. Survivors walked in quiet lines, guided by the soldiers' soft gestures. Jonah walked near the front, checking corners, breath steady. The little girl held his sleeve. she whispered. "Do you think the monsters get scared?" Jonah looked down at her. A small smile. "I think they should be." Orion heard it. Good. Fear was shifting into something humans used as fuel. Footsteps behind. Then they moved for nearly an hour through twisting tunnels. The sound behind them faded for a while. Then they heard new footsteps. Not heavy. Not strong. Light. Fast. Scuttling. Chen raised her rifle instantly. Multiple contacts behind us. Small ones. Maybe scouts. Vale's jaw tightened. The first attack was testing. "This is tracking." "They're learning our movement." Orion stopped the group. "Vale, Chen, defense position. Jonah, protect civilians. Brooks, find the hatch, now." Brooks sprinted down the tunnel, searching for the escape door. The survivors waited, silent, terrified. The scuttling grew louder. Then, shapes emerged, small creatures, like white spiders made of bone and sinew, skittering across walls and ceiling. No eyes, no mouths, no hesitation. Predators born from nightmares. Chen fired first. One creature jerked and collapsed, but more came. Dozens. Vale fought with silent intensity, swift, clean movements, every shot counting. Jonah shielded the survivors with his body, firing at close range, but the creatures didn't scream when hit. They didn't stop. They kept moving, as if pain meant nothing. Orion realized something horrifying. These things don't care if they live or die. Chen gritted her teeth. That means something else is controlling them. The idea was worse than the creatures themselves. The rusted hatch. Brooks shouted from ahead. "I found the exit." "But it's sealed, really sealed." Jonah and Vale fell back, forming a defensive circle. The creatures pressed closer. Brooks slammed his wrench into the hatch lever. Metal groaned. "Rust cracked. Not enough! Orion!" Brooks yelled. "I need help!" Orion ran to the hatch. He grabbed the lever. Muscles strained. Teeth gritted. The metal did not move. The creatures screeched in unison, vibrating the air like knives. Chen stumbled, clutching her head. Vale steadied her. Jonah fired until his rifle clicked empty. He drew his combat knife. Survivors cried. The little girl whispered, "Please." "Open it." That was the moment Orion changed. His expression didn't twist. He didn't shout. He simply refused to fail. He locked his feet. He pulled. Every muscle in his body burning, and the hatch ripped open. Wind blasted in. Fresh, cold, bright. A narrow canyon of crystal light outside. "Move!" Orion roared. Jonah lifted children. Vale pushed survivors forward. Chen fired cover shots. Brooks shoved the last group through. The creatures lunged. Orion slammed the hatch shut behind them. A screech. Then silence. Everyone gasped for breath in the cool canyon air. Jonah looked at Orion, exhausted, wide-eyed, amazed. "Captain, how did you do that?" Orion finally breathed. "We don't break." The survivors stared at him with new eyes, not as soldiers, not as rescuers, but as hope. And far overhead, against the glowing purple sky, the alien pulse ship shifted. It had noticed them escape, and it was changing shape, preparing something new, something worse. The turning point, the canyon was silent. Sharp crystal formations rose like frozen waves around them, glowing faintly under the pale sky. Cold wind brushed dust over the group, chilling them after the heat of fear. Survivors gathered in tight clusters. Some cried softly. Some just stared, empty and numb. But not Orion's squad. They scanned every angle, every sound, every shadow, because they knew one thing: the enemy was not gone. The enemy was learning, a strange sky private. Jonah stared upward. The alien pulse ship was still there. But now, it wasn't just hovering. Its shape was changing, like muscle growing, like bone stretching, like something evolving in real time. Jonah whispered, "It's watching us." Chen nodded, disgusted and horrified at the same time. "It adapts to new information. Everything we do, it learns." Brooks checked his scanner. It scanned us when we ran. It measured our speed, our reaction time, our patterns. Vale's jaw tightened. "So the next wave will be worse." Orion's voice was calm, but his eyes were sharp, calculating. "Then we don't give it the next move. Human fire." The group reached a narrow ridge between the canyon walls. The ground opened below into a wide crater where old mining equipment sat rusting under rock dust. Brooks smiled suddenly. Fuel tanks. Old ones, but some might still have pressure. Chen caught on instantly. You want to make a bomb? Brooks grinned. Oh, not a bomb. A big bomb. Orion nodded slowly. If that creature breaks through the canyon or tracks us here, it will follow the same trail. Straight into this kill zone, Vale smirked. That's using the environment. Human strategy, Jonah added quietly. Monsters may learn, but they don't think like us. Survivors watched as soldiers moved with purpose, lighting sparks of hope. Fuel tanks were rigged. Wires rewired, metal shards turned into fragmentation traps. Even the survivors helped, stacking rocks, pulling cables, carrying parts. People who had been helpless were now fighting. That was the turning point, not the bomb. Not the plan, the shift in their eyes. They stopped seeing themselves as prey, but the enemy. Moves first, a tremor shook the canyon. Everyone froze. The ground trembled like something massive was crawling beneath the rock. Itself. Chen's eyes widened. It found a new entrance. The canyon floor split. White bone-tipped limbs clawed. Upward, not one creature, not five, an entire hunting pack, dozens, shaped like bone wolves with splitting jaws and too many legs. Dragging themselves into the open air, some survivors screamed. Orion didn't. Positions! The squad formed a firing line. Chen shot first, clean between bone plates. The creature fell. Jonas stabbed another that climbed toward a child. Teeth clenched with pure instinct driving him. Brooks triggered a fuel tank to burst. Fire erupting in controlled arcs. Vale moved like a ghost. Every bullet a kill. But the creatures didn't stop. They crawled. Over their dead. Through fire. Through bullets. Through pain. They didn't fear it. They didn't even understand. Chen shouted over the chaos. They're not alive like us. They don't value their lives. They don't have anything to lose, Vale growled, reloading. Orion's voice cut through everything. That is why we win. He grabbed the detonator. Because we fight for each other. He slammed his hand down. Boom! The canyon shook as fire erupted upward, turning the crater into a furnace. Heat roared. Bone creatures burned, their shell-like bodies cracking. A shockwave rolled through the canyon. Silence returned. Smoke drifted. Ash floated. The survivors stared. Jonah fell to his knees, exhausted. The little girl hugged him, shaking but alive. Brooks slumped against a rock, breathing heavy. Chen wiped blood from her cheek. Vale checked every survivor with calm focus. Orion walked to the ridge, looking down into the burning crater. The creatures melted, turned black, turned still. But the pulse ship above? It did not retreat. It pulsed harder, faster, like a heart beating with anger. The message from above. The sky flickered. A voice, deep, layered, echoing inside the skull rather than ears, filled the air. We tested your fear. Survivors covered their heads. Some cried. Some nearly collapsed. Orion clenched his fists. Not fear, rage. We tested your pain. Chen grit her teeth. Get out of my mind. Humans resist. Humans endure, the voice paused. We will learn how to break you. The clouds rippled. New form descended from the pulse ship. Taller, stronger, more. Aware, not a beast, a leader. Orion's eyes locked on. He didn't blink. He didn't step back. He whispered, "No, you won't." Because something had changed today. Humans didn't just survive. Humans had fought back. And the enemy now understood something terrifying. Humans were not prey. Humans were war. The message to the galaxy. The air felt heavier now. The new creature stood on the ridge above the crater. Tall, smooth, featureless, but somehow aware. No mouth, no eyes, yet everyone felt its focus. Survivors stepped back. Some trembled, some clutched each other. But no one ran. They had seen what running meant. Orion Hale stepped forward, alone. His boots crunched over ash. Smoke curled around him. Heat shimmered. The creature tilted its head slightly, studying him the way a scientist studies a strange tool. Chen whispered, voice tight. "Captain." Don't go closer. Orion didn't answer. His focus was completely locked on the being before him. The creature spoke again, without sound, pressing into the mind like icy fingers. "Human, you refuse fear!" Orion's jaw tightened, but he did not break eye contact. "You came here to break us." The alien's response vibrated in everyone's bones. "You are unstable, violent, unpredictable. Your species spreads like fire." "We reshape what we cannot control," Vale whispered, almost to herself. "They don't destroy. They convert. They take minds. They erase identity." Jonah swallowed hard. "They want to turn us into them." Orion nodded once. "You failed." The creature tilted its head again. "We have not failed. We have only begun." The hidden transmitter Brooks suddenly grabbed something from his pack and sprinted toward the makeshift equipment pile. "Captain," he shouted, "we can broadcast from here." Chen blinked. "Broadcast? To who?" Brooks shoved wires together, sparks flying. "Not just the colony, not just the Earth fleet. Every listening station in the sector. Any species with receivers will hear us." Vale's eyes widened. "You want to send a message to the galaxy?" Brooks nodded. "We're not the ones who should be afraid anymore." Orion didn't turn. He kept the creature's attention locked, but his voice was steady. "Do it." Brooks powered the transmitter. The machine shook violently. Panels cracked. Lights flickered, but it worked. Static hummed across open space. The speech that changed everything. Orion spoke without turning, his voice calm, firm, iron-strong. To anyone listening. Any world. Any outpost. Any ship. His voice carried far, into deep space, through every open channel. "This is Captain Orion Hale of the human colony Arden 3. He did not raise his voice. He didn't need to. We were attacked. Not for territory. Not for resources. Not for negotiations." His eyes narrowed at the alien creature. "But to erase what makes us human." The survivors listened in complete silence. "They believe we break. They believe we surrender. They believe we kneel." He took another step forward. "We do not." The creature's head turned more sharply now, as if confused. Orion continued. "We bleed. We suffer, we fall. But humans stand back up." He lifted his chin. "You want to understand us? Fine. Here is your understanding. When you come for one human, you face us all. We do not run. We do not hide. We do not break." Brooks switched the broadcast to wide spectrum, every starship, every colony, every listening satellite. The galaxy heard Orion's voice. The first spark of fear, but not from humans. The creature finally spoke. "You cannot win. We are endless." Now Orion smiled. Not a big smile, just enough. Endless isn't enough. Chen spoke now, stepping forward beside him. "Endless means nothing if you don't understand what you're fighting." Vale stepped forward next. "We fight for those beside us." Jonah stepped forward last. Voice steady for the first time, and that means we don't. "Stop." Something shifted in the air. The creature, this leader, stepped back. Just one step. But one step was everything. They had seen it. The alien felt uncertainty, not fear, not yet, but close. The pulse ship reacts. The sky darkened. The pulse ship. Above began changing again, rapidly. Bones split. Flesh twisted. A scream echoed across the sky, a sound like metal tearing underwater. Brooks's scanner beeped with rising warnings. It's evolving again. It's trying to create something to counter us. Orion clenched his fists. Then we don't give it time. He pointed upward. We take the fight to them. Chen blinked. Captain, you want to board it? Vale gave a sharp, grim nod. They expect us to hide. They expect us to hold the line. They do not expect us to attack. Jonah looked at the survivors, at the children, at the elderly, at the broken. Someone stays with them, protects them. Orion placed a hand on Jonah's shoulder. That someone is you. Jonah nodded. Stronger now. Braver now, Chen looked at Orion. How do we get to the ship? Orion finally turned away from the creature. We improvise. Because humans do what no one expects. The creature retreats. The alien leader took another step back, melting into the ground. the earth swallowing it like water, retreating, not defeated, but forced to reconsider. Which, for beings who believed themselves perfect, was the first sign of fear. The galaxy listens across deep space, on distant colonies, on ships drifting between stars, in ports filled with alien traders, in hidden stations on cold moons, the message played, and species who once believed humans were ordinary now whispered a new phrase. Do not provoke the humans. The spark of fear had begun, but the war was only beginning. The last stand. The canyon was quiet now. Survivors built small fires. Children slept, guarded closely. The night sky glowed purple and red, lit by the massive living pulse ship drifting overhead. It was changing shape again. Bigger, sharper, preparing something new and terrible. But humans were preparing too. At the center of the camp, Orion Hale stood with Vale, Chen, and Brooks. Their armor was damaged, scratched, burned, but their eyes were steady. This was not the beginning of fear. This was the beginning of resolve. Brooks tightened the final straps on a small launch craft, an old mining shuttle they had, dragged from the abandoned dig site. Its hull was cracked. Its thrusters flickered. It was never meant for space combat. But humans did not wait for perfect tools. Humans made what they had enough. Chen looked up at the pulse ship. It's changing again, she said. Like it's preparing for us, Vale smirked. Good. Let it prepare. Orion nodded once. We board it. We find the core. We destroy whatever controls it, Brooks exhaled slowly. No idea how much time we'll have once inside. Could be minutes. Could be seconds. Chen slung her rifle. Seconds are enough. The one left behind, Jonah stood with the survivors. His hands held a rifle, but his eyes held something greater. Responsibility. He wasn't the scared boy from the cave anymore. Orion approached him. You know your job? Jonah nodded. Protect them. Hold this canyon until you return. Orion placed a hand on his shoulder, firm, steady, brother-like. You will not break. Jonah's voice was sure. No, sir. I won't. The little girl hugged Jonah's leg. You'll come back, right? Orion knelt. I promise you. We return. Not because he was certain, but because humans fight hardest when the promise matters. Launch the squad boarded the mining shuttle. Brooks powered the thrusters. The engines coughed, shook, then roared. The survivors watched from below, torches lighting their faces. The shuttle lifted. Dust swept outward. The ground trembled. Jonah raised his rifle in. Salute. Chen returned the gesture from the window. The shuttle shot upward, toward the monstrous living ship. The pulse ship pulsed in response as if it knew, as if it was waiting, boarding. The living ship, the mining shuttle, smashed through the organic. Outer layer of the ship with a wet, sickening tear. Alarms blared inside. Not mechanical alarms, but the sound of living tissue reacting. The interior was dark, glowing faintly with red veins pulsing like blood vessels. Chen gagged. This place is alive. Vale raised her rifle. Then we kill it. Brooks scanned the walls. Core should be central. Whatever brain controls this thing is deep inside. Orion moved first. Then we go straight through. They marched into the living maze. The core. They reached a massive chamber. At the center floated a heart-like mass, suspended by sinew and glowing cables of energy. It pulsed slowly. Each pulse sent a wave of psychic pressure into their minds. Human. Why do you resist? The voice came from everywhere. Chen staggered, gripping her head. Vale steadied her. Orion stepped forward. Because we are not yours. The voice vibrated with frustration. You suffer. You break. You die. Orion clenched his fists. Yes, we suffer. Yes, we fall. But we stand again. He raised his weapon. And you cannot understand that. That is why you fear us. The pulse ship screamed. A sound of hate. Dozens of white-armored guardians crawled from the walls. Vale's eyes narrowed. Hold the line. Chen took position. Brooks primed the explosive charge. This was it. The last stand. The fight creatures charged. Vale fought like a storm. Precise. Silent. Unstoppable. Chen fired shot after shot. Never missing. Never hesitating. Brooks defended the explosive device with his own body. Taking hits but refusing to fall. Orion moved through the battle like a blade, every strike driven by purpose, by memory of the innocent, by promise. The core pulsed harder. The ship screamed louder, and Brooks yelled, "Charge is set! Orion, now!" The squad fell back. Orion stood alone in front of the core. The voice pleaded, for the first time sounding almost desperate. "You will destroy yourself." Orion shook his head. "No, we will free ourselves." He triggered the detonator. Light, fire, silence. The sky burns below in the canyon. Jonah looked upward as the pulse ship fractured. Light burst from its center, like a star being born. It split open, then collapsed. Pieces burned across the sky, falling like shooting stars. The children cheered. The survivors cried. Jonah fell to his knees, overwhelmed. But he wasn't crying, he was laughing. The kind of laugh that comes from the edge of death and back. But the squad? The survivors waited. Minutes passed. Then, a small shuttle broke through the burning debris and descended, battered, smoking, but alive. Jonah whispered, "They did it." The shuttle landed hard. The hatch opened. Orion stepped out, burned, wounded, exhausted. But standing, Chen and Vale followed him. Leaning on each other, Brooks limped behind, clutching broken gear, smiling anyway. The survivors rushed toward them. The little girl hugged Orion's leg again. "You came back." Orion knelt and lifted her into his arms. "I promised, didn't I?" The galaxy remembers. Weeks later, the broadcast spread further, across empires, across fleets, across worlds who had never feared humans before. Now they whispered, "Humans do not surrender. Humans do not kneel. Humans do not break." The war was not over, but the galaxy now understood. You can fight humans. You can wound humans. You can even kill humans, but you cannot break humans, and the ones who try do not survive. The end. If you enjoyed this video, like this video, subscribing, and clicking the bell icon to stay updated with fresh content every day.